I am so lucky in my earnings from Wimbledon, with my earnings in general. I invest in my future.
$396,000. One tournament. 10 days of tennis. One 21-year-old from Manila. That is what Alex Eala walked off center court with after her remarkable fourth-round run at Wimbledon 2026, the largest single paycheck of her career, earned on the biggest stage in the sport. But within 48 hours of that prize money-making headlines, the world's #1 player had launched a fierce attack on the very prize money system that produced it. It's not easy to live in this tennis world with that percentage that we are owning, Aryna Sabalenka said, arguing that even £300,000, roughly $396,000, was nowhere near enough. The amount Sabalenka believes players should actually receive is what makes this story so significant. Her comments reignited the debate over how much of tennis' enormous revenue should go to the athletes who generate them. For the first time in her career, Eala entered a Grand Slam as a seeded player, arriving at Wimbledon 2026 as the number 29 seed. She left ranked number 28 in the world and holding a £300,000 check. That single payday represents nearly 1/3 of every dollar she has earned throughout her professional career. It was more than a bonus. It was a defining financial milestone and a glimpse into the business reality of modern tennis. Then, on June 27th at a press conference inside the All England club, Sabalenka made it clear she was not willing to stay quiet. She refused to back down as she challenged the sport's financial structure, insisting that players deserve a much larger share of the revenue generated by the biggest events. Sabalenka is not fighting the WTA. She is taking aim at the 4 Grand Slams and the independent organizations that operate Wimbledon, Roland Garros, the US Open, and the Australian Open. And she is not standing alone. Coco Gauff, Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, and Jessica Pegula all joined her this spring in signing a letter demanding one specific target: that players receive 22% of Grand Slam tournament revenue. The Grand Slams reportedly return only about 15% to 16% of their tournament revenue to players. By comparison, WTA and ATP 1000 events already distribute around 22%. That gap is at the center of the growing battle over prize money. In May of this year, Sabalenka made it clear just how serious the players were about forcing change. Speaking to the Athletic Asterisk, she said, "At some point, we will boycott." The world #1 used the word boycott publicly on the record 6 weeks before Wimbledon, and she has not backed away from that position since. The argument that players are simply being greedy collapses immediately. This is not billionaires demanding more money. This is a top 10 player using her own financial security to fight for the athlete ranked number 128, the player who often cannot afford to speak out because her entire career depends on making it to the next tournament. 6 weeks. That is the timeline tennis now faces before the US Open. And Sabalenka's position carries even more weight because she is a defending champion. To understand why Grand Slam officials are paying close attention, you have to understand the combination of timing and influence. The world #1 publicly raised the possibility of a boycott 6 weeks before Wimbledon. She challenged the system in press conferences. She has Coco Gauff, Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, and Jessica Pegula standing alongside the player movement. And now she is heading to New York with the very trophy she must defend, giving her maximum leverage as the countdown continues. This fight is not new. It is almost as old as professional tennis itself. The original 9 players who created the WTA in 1970 were fighting for greater control and better financial conditions. The ATP was formed in 1973 for similar reasons. But what makes this moment different is that, for the first time in years, both tours appear to be moving together on the issue. And the reason this debate matters far beyond the top 10 is because of players like Alex Eala, Colombia's Camilo Osorio, and Tunisia's Ons Jabeur. Emerging tennis nations are now producing world-class athletes who are breaking into the top 30, but their professional futures often depend on what happens in the early rounds of Grand Slam tournaments. The money earned, or lost, between rounds 3 and 4 can determine whether these players can continue investing in coaches, travel, fitness, and development. Freeze that financial pathway, and you risk slowing the global growth of the sport itself. The footage from Eala's match against Paolini tells a story. She stood across the net from a top 10 opponent on center court, took an entire set from her, and pushed the match to a deciding third set before eventually falling 6-3. It was not a failure. It was proof that players from outside the traditional tennis powerhouses can compete on the biggest stages, and that the financial structure surrounding them will determine how many more athletes get that opportunity. She has not played a competitive match in the 11 days since Wimbledon. In her post-match press conference, Alex Eala did not make excuses, and she did not address the prize money battle happening around her. She has stayed away from that conversation throughout the entire 2025-26 stretch, choosing instead to focus on her performance and her progress. Her message was simple. This run was only the beginning. Then she went home. Sabalenka, meanwhile, experienced her own Wimbledon disappointment one day earlier. The world number one was defeated by Naomi Osaka on the same center court, losing 6-2, 7-6. After the loss, Sabalenka admitted she wanted to forget the defeat and move on. Two elite players, eliminated in the same round, only one day apart, but their paths afterward could not have been more different. One stayed quiet. The other went to war. A $396,000 paycheck. A decade of stagnant revenue sharing. A number 29 seed who walked away from Wimbledon as the number 28 ranked player in the world. A world number one who walked out of a press room rather than pretend the numbers made sense. When the biggest name in the sport says the system is broken, and a rising star in the middle of the rankings cashes a career-changing check while proving the same argument, the conversation becomes much bigger than the rich getting richer. It becomes a question of who professional tennis is actually built for. So now the question moves to the fans. If Sabalenka and the player coalition decide to move forward with a US Open boycott in 6 weeks, will you stand with the players or with the Grand Slams? And perhaps the bigger question, would a boycott create a better future for the next Alex Eala, or would it take away the very opportunity that players outside the top tier depend on? Share your prediction for what happens in New York. Because this story did not end at Wimbledon. The next chapter begins at Flushing Meadows. Every statement, every press conference, every potential walkout, and every paycheck between now and the US Open could shape the future of professional tennis. The people paying attention early are the ones who will understand where this story is heading. Meanwhile, Alex Eala's Wimbledon campaign became one of the biggest stories of her career. In the opening round, she defeated Renata Zarazua, the same player who had beaten her in 2025. In the third round, she eliminated number 21 seed Marie Buzkova. Then came a center-court showdown with Jasmine Paolini in the fourth round. Eala captured the second set 6-4 before ultimately falling 6-4, 4-6, 6-3. Even in defeat, her tournament transformed her career. She earned 240 ranking points, climbed to a career-high number 28 in the world, and collected a paycheck worth $396,100. In the Philippines, that figure dominated headlines. Local media reported it as approximately 3 million pesos, and the number quickly began trending nationwide. For many Filipinos, it represented far more than prize money. It exceeded the combined government bonuses received by many of the country's Olympic gold medalists over the years. In a nation where elite athletes have often had to fight for limited financial support, Eala's Wimbledon earnings were seen not simply as a paycheck, but as proof that a Filipino athlete could reach the very highest level of professional tennis. Now compare that check with what Wimbledon itself generated. The 2026 championships featured a record total prize pool of £64, $2 million. On the surface, that sounds extraordinarily generous. But Sabalenka argued that the bigger picture tells a different story. During her pre-tournament press conference on June 27th, she pointed out that the percentage of tournament revenue paid to players has remained virtually unchanged for the past decade despite enormous growth in television rights, streaming deals, sponsorships, and hospitality revenue. According to the Player Coalition, while the business of tennis has become significantly more profitable, the players' share has barely moved. That was a message before the tournament even began. Then, during Wimbledon, the conversation took another turn. In one press conference, a reporter attempted to challenge Sabalenka from a different angle, asking whether it was hypocritical for someone wearing expensive jewelry to demand more prize money from a Grand Slams. And this is where the campaign stopped being about Sabalenka herself. She completely reframed the conversation. Her argument was that she was not fighting for the stars at the top of the rankings. She was fighting for the players struggling to survive on tour, the ones who are only a round or two away from not being able to afford a coach, a physiotherapist, or even a flight to their next tournament. Suddenly, the debate was no longer about how much money the biggest names make. It became about whether the rest of the professional tennis ecosystem can remain financially sustainable. That perspective changes the way Alex Eala's Wimbledon payday is viewed. If you have followed Eala's rise from the beginning, if you have been telling friends ever since her breakthrough in Miami in 2025 that she was destined for something bigger, you have probably already realized what much of the tennis establishment is only now beginning to acknowledge. The mid-ranked player is not a side story in professional tennis. She is a foundation that keeps the sport alive. And the world number one used one of the biggest paychecks of Eala's career to illustrate exactly that point. Under the Player Coalition's proposal for athletes to receive 22% of Grand Slam revenue, Eala's fourth-round prize would reportedly not have been around $396,000. Instead, estimates suggest it could have been closer to $550,000 or even $600,000. The matches would have been the same. The results would have been the same. Center court would have been the same. But the financial impact on her future, and on the futures of countless players ranked outside the very top of the game, would have been dramatically different. Jessica Pegula has become one of the central figures giving this movement structure and credibility. A multiple-time Grand Slam quarterfinalist and a long-time fixture inside the WTA's top 10, Pegula occupies a unique position in the debate. She is also the daughter of the family that owns the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Sabres, meaning she has no personal financial need to campaign for higher prize money. That is precisely what makes her voice so influential. When someone who does not stand to benefit financially argues for change, the message carries a different kind of weight. Speaking to ESPN, Pegula described the campaign as a push for a fairer share of tournament revenue and criticized the Grand Slams for failing to increase players' percentage despite years of record-breaking income. When one of the wealthiest players in professional tennis becomes a leading organizer in a fight over revenue distribution, it becomes much harder to dismiss the movement as simply a demand for bigger paychecks. It becomes a broader argument about fairness, sustainability, and the long-term future of the sport.